everybody. We are going to make they are called Nun Buns. And they are almost like a cream puff, I would assume. But they have a little different variation. So we're going to make those today, and then I'm going to make a cream to go inside like a cooked pudding. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to turn this on low. Well, actually medium. We're going to do medium, guys. We're going to do medium heat. And we're going to put in a stick of butter. We're going to do a stick of butter and a cup of milk. And you're going to set your oven on 375. So preheat your oven to 375. And we're going to melt the butter and the milk. Well, bring it to a soft boil. That's what we're going to do. Bring that to a soft boil. So these are almost, when you read the recipe, it's almost like a cream puff, but hi Tanya, it's a little bit different because you're going to put it in, you're going to divide this into 12 balls, and you want it to equal, hi Elaine, so you want it to equal, so you have to do a muffin tin with 12, and I already have it greased and ready for whenever we're done. So if you guys can see that, I already have it all greased up. And then after we make the dough, I'm going to, instead of whisking it with my hand, I'm going to put it over in my mixer, and I'm going to let the 4 eggs come with the batter with the mixer instead of me mixing it by hand. So this is what you need first, is a stick of butter and a cup of milk, and that's it. And then we're going to put in a tablespoon of sugar. So I have my tablespoon of sugar here, so that's going in. Cream puffs, you don't put sugar in. Now, also with these, you can do add-ins. And a couple of the add-ins that they said that you can incorporate is vanilla and cinnamon. And so both of those sound good, so we're going to add those in. There was other add-ins you could add in too. Hi Brenda, hi Lisa. So I'm going to put in a teaspoon, a heaping teaspoon, so a teaspoon with a little extra of vanilla bean paste, guys. I'm putting that in. I want to make sure I get it all off my spoon. So I'm putting a heaping teaspoon of vanilla bean paste in. I want to make sure I get it all. So we're putting that in. And then I'm just going to, hi Gigi, hi Carrot. I'm just going to sprinkle in a little bit of cinnamon. I'm going to say maybe a teaspoon of cinnamon. So for my add-ins, I'm doing the homemade vanilla bean paste and cinnamon. So those are my add-ins. So far in the pot, we have a cup of milk, a stick of butter, and a tablespoon of sugar. That is on the recipe. Hi, Becky. Hi, Pam. Hi, Andy. Hi, Cricket. So for the recipe, it's a stick of butter, a cup of milk, and the tablespoon of sugar automatically goes in this pan. I'm adding in a heaping teaspoon of vanilla bean paste and a teaspoon of cinnamon. Okay? Hi, Lori. Hi, Diane. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Oh, I missed it. Hi, Fluffle. Hi, Lolly. Hi, Dolores. So we're melting the butter into the milk is what we're doing. And we got to bring it to a soft boil. Once we get it to a soft boil, then we're going to put in 3/4 cups of flour. And then we're going to mix it up on here. And then I'm going to take it over and put it in my mixer and do the eggs one at a time. So while this is melting, we're going to crack the eggs. Now remember, I always say crack your eggs in a separate bowl in case you get a shell. You don't want shells, guys. You don't want shells. Ooh, that's a little warm. It's a little warm. And one more to go. If you guys have a Costco's around you, these are the best little bowls you can get from Costco. I think it's a 6-pack for $10. They were $20 and then they lowered them to $10. And they're all different colors. Okay. So this is melting. You can smell the vanilla for sure. You can smell the vanilla. The butter's starting to melt. That butter was cold, cold, cold. Hi Celeste, hi Sarah. Hi Cricket. Hi Robin. Hi Carrie, hi Stack, hi Dee Dee. Okay guys. Nobody on Facebook this morning? Wow. I'm sure there's people on there, just nobody on there right yet. Hi, Carrie. Hi, Cat. Hi, Starry Night. Hi, Cheryl. Okay, guys, this is all melted, and we want it to get to a soft boil. So we want to get it to a soft boil. As soon as it comes to a soft boil, we're going to add the flour. And I'm going to turn it off on here. And then the flour is going to be, I'm going to whisk it, keep whisking it, and then it'll come to like a ball once it pulls away from the side of the, hi user 47, hi Vivian. Once it pulls away from the pan and makes a ball, we're done with that, and we're going to cool it for just a minute. Hi Candy, Courtney, hi Carmen. We're going to then put it over in the mixer and whip up the eggs. Hi Mimi. Hi Linda. Can you guys see the steam? Okay, so I'm going to turn this off because I don't want my milk to scorch. And in goes 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour, guys. All-purpose flour. We're going to start whisking that up. Get that wooden spoon in there. You can use a, anything that you want. I just prefer to use a wooden spoon. You want that, so that flour is gelling up in there, and it's going to make this big ball in there. So see that? That's what you want right there. Hi Mary. Hi Liza. And if you can see this, you can probably see the vanilla bean paste in here, guys. Can you see the vanilla in there? The vanilla pods? There. So anyway, that's the dough. We got this shut off for right now because we're going to make something else to go in with these once these get in the oven. Okay. Now I'm going to spin you around a little bit so you can see my mixer. And I don't know if this one can see my mixer or not. Let me step out of the way. Yep, okay. So we're going to take this over and we're going, hi Dawn, hi Quizzy, hi Brina, hi Christy. Okay, so we're going to go over to the mixer. Here's the dough again, guys. We're going to go over to the mixer and we're going to put 1 egg at a time in. And I'm going to let the mixer do the beating for me. Make sure you get all your dough out of there. Okay. So first of all, start your mixer on low and let it mix for a little bit and let some of that heat get out of that ball. Hi Susie. Hi Jane. Let that steam come out of that ball for a little bit. Can you guys see it steaming? Okay, we're going to do 1 egg at a time, guys. And let it mix, and then once it starts, it'll get real clumpy, and then it'll get thin again. Hi Ruth, hi Patty, hi Renee. So let the egg go in 1 at a time. So these are called Nun Buns. They're almost like a cream puff, but you can add add-ins and they go in a muffin tin instead of squeezing them out, and you sprinkle it with sugar on top and then you bake. Okay, and goes another one. So probably like 1 to 2 minute intervals of putting your eggs in. Hi Judy, hi Holly, hi Lorraine. When your dough's done, it's going to be nice and glossy. And I did make cream puffs on here before. When you pull your beater out of your bowl, if it's a V shape, your batter's perfect. That's how you want it. Hi Cece, hi C Johnson, hi Sierra. Okay, in goes another egg. Once I get the last egg in there, hi Dawn, hi Madeline, hi Nancy, I'm going to, once I get that last egg in there, I'm going to scrape it down, and then I'm going to let it beat for a little bit longer, and then we're going to pull it out. And when I pull that batter bar out, if it's in a V, it's a perfect dough. Last egg, guys, last egg. Okay, I'm going to scrape this down 1 time. Let's scrape it down. Okay. And we're going to let that beat a little bit. And while that's beating, I'm going to wash this pan because we're going to use this pan again. Hi, Tanya. Hi, Stacy. Okay. Let's see what we got here, guys. Now, remember I said if it comes in a V, it's perfect dough. So this is how you tell. See that? That's perfect. So when you're making any kind of pâte choux dough, that's what this is called, cream puffs or these Nun Buns, eclairs, anything like that, if you use a beater bar and you have a V like that, your dough's perfect. Hi Joan, hi DG. So any kind of pâte choux dough that you're making and you use your beater bar, when you pull it out and it's in a V like this, you have perfect dough, guys. Hi Tristan, hi Marilyn. Okay, so I want to make sure that I have an equal amount of everything. Oh, I got a flash bulb. Thanks, guys. Let's see here. I'm going to use the big one from the Pampered Chef. It's the biggest scoop there is, so that's what I'm going to use, guys. For my, I want them all to be equal. You don't have to. You can use a tablespoon if you want. Do it a couple times. You can use whatever you want. That's just what I'm choosing to use. So make sure you scrape your beater bar off. All right. And let's see here. You see that? See the vanilla bean paste in there? They smell so good. And then I'm going to drop, let me scoop this back. Can you see? So I'm going to drop 1 scoop per muffin tin. And as you can tell, the dough is like a brownish color. That's because of the vanilla bean paste and the cinnamon, y'all. Because I put cinnamon in there too. Remember, it said on the Nun Buns you can add add-ins, and you can add whatever you want. So I decided to do vanilla bean paste and cinnamon. Excuse me a minute, guys. I gotta scrape this down. So I'm gonna set this here. I want to scrape this down and get all I can get. Oop. And we should get 1 more out of this. And they were exactly right. I got 12. So I got 12. I got a little messy on the side there. And this one looks a little skinnier than the rest. So I'm going to keep scraping this out, and I'm going to get a little bit more and put it right in this one. And that's it, guys. Let me run some water in this, and then we'll go back over the recipe before we start something else. Okay, so in their recipe, if you're just coming on, hi Tiki, hi Nan, hi Joan, hi Chrissy, if you're just coming on, we're making Nun Buns, is what they're called. It is a patty choux dough. It had 1 stick of butter, a cup of milk, and a tablespoon of sugar. You melt that down into a light boil, and then I added a heaping teaspoon of vanilla bean paste and a teaspoon of cinnamon into my dough. Then, once it comes to a boil, you add 3/4 cups of flour, stir it up really fast, get that ball, and then I put it in my mixer, did 1 egg at a time. When it comes out into a V, on the bottom of that batter bowl, it's perfect. Okay, so next, let me get my sugar bowl. This was the other thing on their directions. So for Nun Buns, I know I'm getting too close. Hi guys, hi Ashley. For Nun Buns, you're going to sprinkle the top with sugar, okay? You're going to sprinkle the top with sugar. And this is an important part in their directions. So this will make it, now you can use regular granulated sugar, or you can use coarse sugar, whatever sugar you have. I mean, you could even probably use brown sugar if you wanted. That might have been good with them as brown as they are because of the stuff that I put in. But make sure you sprinkle a good amount of sugar on the top of each one. Okay? And then they're going into the oven at 375 for 30 minutes. And do not open your door, guys. That's the other thing. You don't want them to fall. So this is what they look like. And you had to grease these. Okay. Alexa, set the timer for 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Starting now.
Okay. So we're all done with that. Now we're going to go over here again. Okay, so for the filling, I had made this on here before, but I'm going to tell you what it is. This is homemade vanilla pudding, y'all. Homemade vanilla pudding. It has a few ingredients. If you want to make this homemade, it's 1.5 cups of powdered milk, 2 cups of granulated sugar, and 2 cups of 2 cups of cornstarch. And you mix it all up. Now, I didn't mix it. I put it in my Ninja and blended it, so everything was blended really good. Okay? And then, once you make it, you can put this in. And then once you mix it, you need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I don't know if you can see that. 1/2 cup of mix, and 2 cups of milk. Okay, this has to be cooked. This is if you make this, it's not instant. It has to be cooked because there's cornstarch. The only way cornstarch activates if you cook it. Okay. Hi Rita, how are you, hon? I haven't seen you in a while. Anyhow, so this is homemade vanilla pudding mix. Okay. Once again, it's 1.5 cups of powdered milk, 2 cups of granulated sugar, and 2 cups of cornstarch. I put it in my Ninja and blend it up. You don't have to do that. You can just whisk it up and then store it in whatever. I store it in this. It's easy for me. So we're going to mix some of this up because in the Nun Buns that we just made, they said that you could either fill them with a pudding mixture, you could put whipped cream, you could do fruit, or you could just drizzle them with some. Happy Sunday to you too, or you could just drizzle them with honey, whichever you wanted. So let's get started with this. If you make this, you need 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1/2 cup of mix, 1/2 cup of this mix, and 2 cups of milk. So we're going to cook that on low on here while we're waiting on our buns to cook. That's why I wanted to wash this pan. All right. So I'm going to put this on low. We're going to get 1/2 cup of this mix. Let me get my glass. We need 2 cups of milk. Now, with this mix, if you don't want to use high crystal, if you don't want to use whole milk, you can use any kind of milk you want. It doesn't matter. Because the cornstarch is going to thicken it within there, and so you have to cook it, so it doesn't matter what kind of milk you use. So if you want to do almond milk, oat milk, skim milk, whole milk, your choice. Hi Sheena, how are you? Hi Vicki. So 2 cups of milk, guys. 2 cups of milk. And then 1/2 cup of mix. We're going to do 1/2 cup of this mix. Half a cup of mix. And a teaspoon of vanilla bean paste. Hi Lisa Hill, how are you? And I'm going to use a heaping because I like extra. A little extra for goodness, guys. A little extra for goodness. Okay. So, then you just start stirring that up. I'll have to get a bigger spoon. Anyhow, this will take about 10 minutes for it to come to what we want. It'll take about 10 minutes. Let me get a whisk. I need to clean out my junk drawers. Well, let me use this little one. I just want to break up the clumps. That's all I'm doing. Hi, Linda. Hi, Big Stoffer. Hi, Misty. Hi, Kristen. Hi, Jeannie. Okay. Then we will get, let's see. Maybe we'll use this. So this will take about 10 minutes for it to come up to where it'll thicken. And then you're definitely going to want to pull it off and let it sit, and then I'll put it in a bowl. But, so with this mix that I told you guys about, you can, like if you're doing a homemade cake, you can add a couple tablespoons of that into your cake mix. If you do a box cake mix, you can do the same thing. Probably like 1/4 of a cup maybe. Yeah, so you can use it. Now, also, if I wanted this creamier, and I might do it because we're putting this in those Nun Buns. If you want it more like a custard, you could add like 2 eggs to it and whip it up in there. But what you would have to do is you have to pull a little bit of this out into a bowl and temper your eggs so your eggs don't curdle. You can't put the eggs right in this mix because they'll curdle if you do that. So before it starts thickening up, I'll pour a little bit of this out and I'll temper the egg. Hi, Lori. And then I'll add the egg into this and it'll make it more like a custard instead of pudding. That's just another little tip if you guys want to do that. But, I mean, how much is a box of Jell-O cooked pudding? I don't even know, like $2. Are they like $2? I don't know. So if you want to make this and you want chocolate, all you would add to this is 1/2 cup of cocoa, and then you would have chocolate, guys. If you just want to leave it vanilla and you want to make a chocolate cooked pudding, just add, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of a cup. And no, not even 1/8. So you only use 1/2 cup of this to 2 cups. So probably a couple tablespoons of cocoa powder. If you just want to leave it vanilla. If you want to have chocolate pudding, that's up to you. So for the pudding, again, if you want to make it, it's 1.5 cups of powdered milk, 2 cups of sugar, and 2 cups of cornstarch. And it is a cook because the cornstarch got to be cooked to activate it. So it's not an instant pudding, it's definitely a cooked. And then, like I said, if you want it chocolate, just add cocoa powder to this, and you have a chocolate pudding. And then for the mix, once you mix it up, hi, Rita, what percentage of cocoa would you use if I want to make chocolate? Okay, so I put, for this, you need 1/2 cup of this. So you need 1/2 cup of this, so 2 cups of milk and a teaspoon of vanilla. So I would put a couple tablespoons of cocoa into your mix, and it will make it chocolate. But if you make a whole batch, which is the 1.5 cups of powdered milk, 2 cups of sugar, 2 cups of cornstarch, I would add 1/2 cup of cocoa powder to this and blend it all up. And if you want it darker, you can add more. It's whatever you want, Rita. This is your base mix, and then you can add whatever you want to it. But now, if you have vanilla powder, because they do sell vanilla powder, and you want to add it to this instead of adding vanilla when you cook it, you can also do that. They do sell vanilla powder, so if you want to add it to this, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But I mean, so I've been using this. Oh, I'd had it for maybe three months. So it was up, when I made it, it was up to here where my fingers are, guys. So that's how much I got. So that's a lot of boxes of pudding mix. You know, that's a lot. And it's like, I mean, if you want to make it flavored and you use the base, you can, you know, your flavor extracts you can put in here, like banana or lemon, whatever you want. Hi Stella. Hi Pam. So I'm cooking this pretty low, only because our Nun Buns are cooking. If you guys are just getting on here, we made Nun Buns. They're almost like a cream puff, but a little different in variation. It's a stick of butter, a cup of milk, and a tablespoon of sugar, and you bring that to a soft boil, and then you can put add-ins in it. And I put a heaping teaspoon of vanilla bean paste, and I put a teaspoon of cinnamon in there, maybe a little less, maybe I just shook it in, about a teaspoon. And you bring that to a boil, and then you add your flour, which was 3/4 of a cup, until it started to pull away from it and you made a ball. And then I put it over on my mixer, and I put 4 large eggs in it, one at a time. And if you pulled your batter bar out and you get a V like this with your dough's ready. And then I used my large cookie scoop, and it makes 12. And you have to grease your muffin tin. Hi, Dina. You have to grease your muffin tin. That was another important part. And then the last part was you had to sprinkle them with sugar. And then you bake them at 375 for 30 minutes. I don't know why that keeps coming up. Hi, Lucas. Hi, Julie. Hi, Candy. So I'm just stirring this, guys, and waiting for it to thicken up. And then I'm going to, before it starts to thicken up, I'm going to pull a little bit out, because like I told you, you can add an egg into this, and it'll make it more like a custard. But you have to pull a little bit of this out and temper your egg, okay? Let me grab an egg. And everybody, yesterday, I made the mozzarella cheese, remember? Okay, so let me show you. We've been eating on it. So here's the mozzarella cheese from yesterday. So it's half gone. It's half gone. It turned out really well. So if you weren't on yesterday, I put a video on of this to show you how to make mozzarella cheese. The next time I make it, I'm going to add some seasoning into the ball. I think that will be really good. Hi, Greg. Hi, BK Kid. Okay, we're starting to get, so that's the mozzarella cheese from yesterday. It's starting to boil a little bit, so I'm going to pull a little bit out so I can temper it. I'm going to pull a little bit out so I can temper my egg. Let me get a wooden spoon. Turn that down a little bit. I don't want it to. Okay, guys, so I'm going to temper this egg. So I put the hot, it's starting to boil a little bit, so I'm going to temper this. Because you can't put an egg in that, it will curdle if you do that. So anytime that you need to add an egg, thank you, Rita. Anytime you need to add an egg to something, you guys definitely need to temper it, okay? And I'm going to pull a little bit more out. I'm going to pull a little bit more out and temper some more. Okay. So this is a pudding, but with the one egg, we're going to make it into a custard. Okay? So now, I'm going to start adding this into here. And I'm going to do it a little at a time. I've already tempered the egg, so you don't have to worry about it. You know, an egg will curdle, so I've already tempered it. Okay. Hello everybody, we're making pudding, but now we're tempering it to make it a custard. I took it off so I could stir it for a little bit, guys, because I do not want it to burn on the bottom. It's, as you can see, it's starting to thicken up. See that? And then I'm going to pour it into a bowl. And we are done. Okay, so I'm going to set this right here so you guys can see. And in it goes. Okay, let me fix this with some water. Okay, guys, let me get rid of some of this stuff. Yeah, stuff everywhere. I'm going to move this so I can clean while you go, clean while you go. Okay, guys. So, this is what it will look like. Hi, Misty. So, I'm sure you can see the vanilla in there, guys. Hi, Karen. So, just like regular pudding, also with custard, you want to put like a plastic over the top. And I'm just going to stick this in the fridge. We got 11 minutes left, guys. This is piping hot. Oh my gosh. When I say you guys have to make something, you gotta try this. It's very good. Now, if you wanted to put, I could sit here and eat the whole thing. If you wanted to make this banana, you could put a banana emulsion in it. If you wanted to make it lemon, same. Whatever flavor you want. They have flavors for everything, guys. It's very, very good. So, if you just do the pudding mix, it's fine. I added an egg to make it more of a custard to go in those Nun Buns. And it has a really good, yes, I'm eating out of this bowl, but that's okay. This is just for us. Nobody else is going to be eating out of this. But when I tell you that this is freaking delicious, it's freaking delicious. Hi, Catherine. I'm eating custard I just made for the Nun Buns. So, I think I need to put this in the refrigerator and keep it out of my mouth. Hi, Dee. Okay, let me grab some. I can smell them. I can smell them baking. So yesterday we made mozzarella cheese. That's what I have left, guys. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Vicki. So I ended up with about 1.5 pounds of the mozzarella. And this is all I have left. We've been eating on it. But I think the next time I make it, I'm going to do, I'm going to put seasonings in it. Only because I think it's going to be delicious that way. It's good this way too. And then the recipe said when you put it in the salt bath for 2 teaspoons, I think you need more than that, in my opinion. It's very good, but in my opinion, it needs more salt in the salt bath. Hi, Julie. Hi, Tina. Hi, Joel. So that's what we have left of this. This would be really good with anything. Anything. Yesterday, I put some salt in my hand because I thought it needed more. And I just rolled it in it. Hi, Donna. Hi, Cindy. I rolled it in it. I would probably put some Italian seasoning in here, maybe some garlic, whatever you guys wanted. But I definitely think if you make it, put some more salt in the brine water whenever you put it in the ice box, in the ice water, not ice box. But anyway, whenever you put this stuff on here, I think it's really good. It just gives it more of a flavor. I mean, mozzarella doesn't really have, I mean, it has a little bit of flavor, but mozzarella cheese isn't like real flavorful. But, you know, you could put some olive oil, whatever you want on it. This is really good. We got 5 minutes, guys. What's your guys' weather like? Well, I eat mozzarella that I made yesterday. Hi, Donna. Hi, lady. I'll have to, when my husband, I'll make him another piece. And I'll tell him to eat it the way I'm eating it and see if he likes it like that. Not a lot of pepper. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Mike. I'm eating mozzarella cheese I made yesterday. It yielded about 1.5 pounds of fresh mozzarella, guys. So the half a gallon of milk was $1.79, And then I had a third of a cup of white vinegar. Hi, Bridget. Hi, Diana. I had a third of a cup of white vinegar, and then you let it sit for 10 minutes and you pull out the curds. And then after we pulled out the curds, we squeezed it into a cheesecloth and squeezed it as hard as we could. And then I put it in the microwave for 30 seconds. When you put it in the microwave, I would add whatever seasoning, if you want to put seasoning into it. Whatever, hi Jody Lynn, whatever seasonings you want to put into it, that's when you would do it, when you go to put it in the microwave. And then you knead it for 5 minutes. And then you put it in a cold water bath with salt for another 10 minutes. And then you have your mozzarella. And I got about 1.5 pounds of fresh mozzarella. So, it's definitely cheaper than buying. And I looked at my video, and it took 43 minutes from start to finish whenever I was eating a piece in my mouth. So 43 minutes is not bad. And I think I looked up for 1.5 pounds of fresh mozzarella. It's probably going to be $9. So I saved. And then with your whey that you have left over, you can make noodles or bread or whatever with the whey if you want. Hi Jody Lynn, hi Shirley. We are waiting on the Nun Buns to cook. So I got the pudding done. The pudding was my homemade pudding mix. I'll go back over that with you guys while we're waiting. So to make the homemade pudding mix, it's 1.5 cups of powdered milk, 2 cups of granulated sugar, and 2 cups of cornstarch, and you mix that all up. Now, if you have powdered vanilla, you can add some powdered vanilla into it as well. If you don't, no worries, because when you go to cook it, you need a half a cup of the pudding mix, a teaspoon of vanilla, and I use my vanilla bean paste, and you need 2 cups of milk. And that's how we did it. And then I pulled some out, and I tempered an egg to make it more like a custard. When it just started to get to where it was starting to thick up, I pulled out, what is this? I pulled out a half a cup, and I put it into a bowl, and I tempered an egg in it. And then I put another half a cup into the bowl and kept tempering, and then I put the egg into the pudding to make it more of a custard than just a pudding. So you can do that too. If you want to add chocolate, you can add, if you make the whole batch, you can put like a half a cup of cocoa powder in here. If you just want to leave it vanilla, but you want chocolate, just add a couple tablespoons of cocoa powder. And you can kind of, hi, no, bye, I know. Greta, hi Greta. You can always tell when there's somebody walking, the neighbor's dogs go crazy. Unbelievable. Anyhow, you can put whatever you want into this, and then when you're cooking it, if you don't want vanilla, hi Loretta, hi Deb, if you don't want it vanilla and you want it banana, buy some banana emulsion, lemon emulsion, whatever flavor you want. You have a cooked pudding, any flavor that you want. So you can put in whatever you want in here. I've even done, when I didn't have cocoa, and I'm melting, and I'm cooking the pudding, I just threw some chocolate chips in. So you can do whatever you want to do, guys. It's a simple recipe, and you can just add your add-ins in. Another good one is, have you ever had cinnamon vanilla pudding? It's delicious. And it's good for you. Cinnamon's good for you. Cinnamon is so good for you. So I think if you make this, you'll like it, because you can put whatever you want to in it. Really. Hi, Nene. We're down to 31 seconds, y'all. We're down to 31 seconds. So that's what we made today. We made the Nun Buns, and then I pulled out my homemade pudding mix, and we made a custard out of it. Now, if you want your custard more heavy, you can always temper 2 eggs in it instead of 1. I just did 1 because I figured 1 is enough. And if you want to make the mozzarella, I put a video back on, and you can make the mozzarella. It's delicious, guys. Hi, Jessica Ann. Hi, Kathy. Okay, Alexa, stop. Okay. Let's get these puppies out. Oh, yes. Whew. Look at that, guys. I can't see. I'm gonna bring this over here. Woo-hoo. Let me get my little. Where's my little lifter? There we go. This is very, very hot. So these are Nun Buns. So as you can see, the sugar's on top. The sugar's on top. So I'm going to set it there. Ooh. They're nice and golden brown. I'll bring them over here, so I'll bring them over here. I want to get them cool. So they're sticking just a little bit, but they shouldn't be because I greased this really well, but maybe it's just the dough, I don't know. So I was going to do popovers. And then I came across these Nun Buns, and I was like, I'm going to try them. I've never tried them, so I'm going to try them. You know, and you guys know me. If I don't like something, I'll never make it again, so. And I'm very honest about that. Oh. And I think, it's just me, you can make like a drizzle, but you can see the sugar on them. See the sugar on them? Hi, Lee. Hi, Wanda. So you can see the sugar on them. Can you hear that? They're nice and crunchy. They're nice and crunchy, guys. And remember, when you put these in the oven, don't open up your oven door to look at them. You don't want to open up your door because then you'll deflate them. I'm just going to set these on the counter. My counter's clean. So, as you can see, they're all different sizes. Now, they're going to be really hot, but that's okay. My hair's like in my face. I'm going to use this. I'm going to put a little, see there, I just put a little hole right there. Hi, Judy. Hi, Melanie. And I'm going to get that custard that I made. Get that custard I made, guys. Now, this is obviously needs to cool off, but I'm going to do one for you guys. Let's see. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Donna. See how thick that custard is? Look at that. Yes, that's what we want. That's what we want. I'm only going to put enough in here to fill this thing up, I think. Because I have to let this get cool. Okay, I can feel the heaviness. Let me get a plate. Now you could powdered sugar these, you could drizzle them with something. You guys see that? That's how much I got in there, so it's going to start to come out. It's definitely going to start to come out. And I'm going to, let's see here. I'm going to okay, and that's it right there. So here goes the test. Here goes the test, everybody. Let me get some of that cream. Look at that. Doesn't that look good? Mm. Delicious. If the pudding was cold, the custard, it would be better. But I wanted to show you guys. So that's how full I filled them. So they're full. You guys gotta make these. They're delicious. I'm gonna sign off for now, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye.